Hi everybody, my name is Vedran. My call sign is 9 Alpha 7 Papa Bravo Victor. And I'm gonna tell you a little story about our efforts to try to run all the radios on our activations on the solar power. And I'll be talking a little bit about renewables overall, but we'll be focused mainly on solar. Okay, so the name is carbon neutral de-Xing, which is a little bit wide. Let's say that carbon neutral consists of all the technologies that can bring the reduction of CO2 emissions. So here we go. Who I am? I'm just a regular guy that likes ham radio. I run a company that's named Solartronic, and for my life I earn money by installing solar PV farms in Croatia, Austria, Germany so far, and basically that's what I do, and that's why I've been called here to assemble a little system which I'm going to show you today. So this set of informations is going to consist of two parts. One is going to be here where I introduce what it is, what's the system, and what are difference between other systems, and then we'll go out and we will see the system that was not assembled by me, but was assembled by our colleagues, radio amateurs, that have assembled the whole thing here. So I'm very proud that they finished it in a day and that we can use it for our activations. Basically, I am an engineer, and in my high school, I finished high school for telecommunications, so I do have some background in telecoms, but I'm an IT engineer now. To prove that I've been doing ham radio for last 20 years almost, here's me when I was 16 on the top of the mountain with my colleagues, don't understand the ham radio and they're freezing, and I'm happy. You can see how I'm smiling with my radio here. Why and how to go carbon neutral? Basically, now it's the situation on the world scene is that we should all try to reduce the emissions because of the global warming and concern about the nature, but also sometimes we have to use other power sources from the grid when we go on specific places where we simply don't have the power. So you have a few options. One option is to take a big battery with you, and I mean really big battery, or you can take a smaller battery and charge it with something. So it's for your back, it's better to have some source of input, not just big battery. Basically, today we can use solar panels to charge the battery, we can use a wind turbine, or we can use a small river turbine. If somebody is living next to a creek or a river, there are things like this that you basically, we all know how the solar panels work, I think. You're all big, yeah? Is there anybody who doesn't know how the solar panel works? Okay. Basically, you have the sun going to the solar panel, and the photons are being produced into electricity, into voltage. The wind, where you spin the propeller inside the wind turbine, there's a little generator with neodymium magnets and coils, and when it turns, it's going to produce voltage. And the river turbine is very similar to wind turbine, just can produce more voltage on the lower RPM than the wind turbine. Today we will focus on solar panels because that's my biggest expertise, and we decided to go here with solar panels because first it's summer, so we have sun in Croatia, and the second thing is that we don't have wind at the moment, so we wouldn't get much out of the wind, and the river is too far away. So a typical solar system consists of next parts. So I split it in to explain you what it is, what it consists of, and how it's connected. Basically, you have a photovoltaic solar panel or solar panels. If it's only one, then you have only two wires, but if you have multiple of them, you can connect them either in series connections or in parallel. You always have to check on the charge controller settings what goes on the input side, and you have to take a good care that the voltage excuse me, that the voltage that comes from the solar panels is not too high, because you might damage the charge controller. If you put more panels into series, you will get higher voltage, and you will get, let's say, a bigger input voltage for the regulator. But if you have, if you need more power and you cannot go to serial connection, then you can put them in parallel connection, and then the voltage stays the same, but just the power is being doubled. So I'll show you that on the outside. Next we have 12-volt battery pack. So between here we have two wires, plus and minus, going in, and from here so this is the input, we'll call it the input. And on the charge controller, you have always labeled where you put the solar in. From this, it goes to the battery pack. And again, you have two wires, positive and negative, which is labeled positive with red, like warm, and black, like cold, is negative. And we use this the same. You can see that on the back of your radio, so it's the same. So from here, the energy goes to charge controller, and from the charge controller, it goes to a battery pack. Why we decided to use 12-volt battery pack is because roughly all the ham radio gear is working on 12 volts, so we don't need anything to connect to the battery pack except the fuse. Wherever you connect something to something, you should always have a fuse. If something, you have like a shortcut or some failure, this fuse between should prevent that you have a fire hazard or something like that. So here is battery pack is connected to our radio, and our radio is connected to the antenna. So you have sun going in, photons creating electricity, going to charge controller, and going to the battery. Very simple and effective. From battery, it's always drained in one direction to the radio. And we can have this as well. So this is basically a 12-volt DC-AC inverter, which will take 12-volt DC, and it will convert it into AC 230-volt, with which we can power our laptops or the other necessary stuff that we use with our ham radio. Solar in professional telecom systems, just a sec. Because I come from telecom background, before we used to build big commercial power plants. My main business was here in Croatia, that I was doing completely off-grid systems. So I can show you here, it's 2011 years, so it's now, how many? 12, 13 years. So the system has been running 13 years on batteries and wind turbine. Here you can see a wind turbine on 6-meter pole, and you can see 4 kilowatts of power, which is providing the telecom tower with constant load 700 watts, 24/7 last 10 years. And they now replace the batteries. And in the meantime, you can see that the power came to the station, but they decided to just keep it as backup, and they continue to using solar because it's much cheaper and it's already there. The first need why somebody went into investment like this and not just pulling the cable was because this is on the top of a hill, and it would be a huge cost to pull the wire up. So in the first time they had a big diesel generator which was running 24/7, and it costed a lot to pay somebody to go up to the hill and to put diesel into the tank so that it can run. And the second thing, you had to pay for the maintenance for the guy who's going up and down every 2 days with 300 liters of diesel. And the third thing was the thieves that would came when the tank was full, take half and leave the station without diesel. So when they changed to the solar, the diesel generator was basically removed because it was enough energy stored in the batteries to have autonomy for 3 days. Which means, what is autonomy? Autonomy is a situation where you have full batteries, but you have very cloudy day and you have no wind, it's fog. So there's no input basically. The input, when you have full sun on the solar panels, you get, let's say, 100%. But when you don't have full sun, it's like, let's say, cloudy, you only get 10%. We can say it's working, yes, but it's working at very low input. So you have to have autonomy, and that said, like 3 days means that this station can run for 3 days without charge. And we hope that on the 3rd day the sun will come, it's going to be a clear day, or that in the meantime there's going to be some wind. That's why it's called autonomy. Okay, solar in ham radio. You can see my colleague Richard, who you met yesterday. This is his station, and we are here playing with the solar system that's assembled here. We were testing his station work on solar before we came here, just to see that everything will work fine. And you can see 2 of us here. We connected the flex radio to it, and we had a few contacts just to prove the concept. Here you can see me in Ireland. This is one of our colleagues, radio amateur, garden. And I would just like to say that the difference between the grid tied and off grid is that when you are off the grid, it means that you don't have any connection to the possibility to the grid. When you are grid tied, you can also have a solar system, but then the solar system is going to provide all the necessary electricity you need, but the rest will be put back to the grid, and then you can take it when you need it. I would like to keep this insight short. I would like to have you ask me questions, and outside I will be very glad to show you everything, how we made the system, and please feel free to ask me. So I don't want to be a boring guy, blah, 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 blah. You please ask now. Do you have any questions or something? Yeah?
If a panel in series gets broken, just get lower voltage or interrupt the series?
You mean if you have 2 panels connected together and one panel gets broken, what do you do then? That's what you ask.
Yeah.
Remove the broken panel.
But is still producing energy if it's a series connection?
The thing is, how broken? Tell me how broken? Very broken or just a little bit cracked?
The glass.
If the glass is broken, the panel is still working, just at reduced efficiency. If the cells inside haven't been cracked a lot, or if the water didn't came in, it's still working something. But I think that you will lose more power with having this broken panel in series than if you would simply remove the broken panel and then use only one that's good. Okay. Yeah, but they work, and sometimes when we build big power plants and then we have a few broken panels, I used to give the broken panels to a friend of mine who put a transparent sticker on it so that the water cannot get in, and he connected 10 of them in series and he's got free electricity at home. Yes, with broken panels. Yes, yes, so it's working.
I put panels.
If it's cheap and broken, it's better than nothing, for sure. Yeah. Any other questions? Come on. Don't be ashamed. There's got to be something, huh? No?
Does the charge controller make noise?
Okay, you have different types of charge controllers. You have charge controllers that have passive cooling, which means they only have a heatsink from aluminum on the backside, and you have the ones that have the fan inside.
I mean RF noise in radio.
Birdies, yes.
Pure M.
Yes, there is a problem with charge controllers that they cause RF interference, because inside, if they have an oscillator which makes interference on the higher harmonics, and that's where we use our radios. So that's the reason why we didn't put the solar panels under the antennas, and we kept the. Maybe I should just a sec. Basically, the secret is you cannot know before you buy this, will it make RF interference or not, and you have to give money. That's what we did as well. So we bought one, we plugged it in at Richard's place, and yes, we saw birdies. We saw birdies on 21 megahertz, and they were each 40 kilohertz. You had a little peak, and when we turned it off, it stopped. So we knew that was the cause. And then we asked the friends that we know that they use the solar system for powering the radios for a long time, especially in America. Some of the richest friends use it on the remote sites. So they told us that we should keep the wire between the panel and the charge controller as short as possible, together bound, which means that, let's say, if you put long cables here, it's gonna transmit RF. But if you keep this distance as short as possible, then your RF antenna is very small. And if you put cables positive and minus together and zip tie all together, then you have killed the antenna, basically. And if you remove this part from the radio and antennas, you remove the RF source. So that's why we use it, that the solar system is, let's say, one wavelength away from everything. So it does not cause birdies.
There is no noise from charge controller to the battery?
No. On the AC side, on the DC side, you have no RF. The RF is only being transmitted here because the charge controller is all the time measuring the voltage coming from the panels and trying to hit the best spot where it's going to pull the most current into to the battery. And this constant tsaka 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 is going to cause the RF. But it is a bit tricky, and the only advice I can give you, try to move it. The only limitation basically is you can move this away from this, but then you have to have long DC cables on the radio. If you have a long DC cables on the radio, then you have a big voltage drop. So you have to aim to get, nothing is ideal in life. So let's say you have to try to get this to be, let's say, 10-15 meters away from this, so that you can sit in the shade, but the antenna is going to be on the opposite side. I think it's better to be closer to the radio with batteries and have a longer coax than have a short coax and have a long DC cable. Okay, if that's it, then we are finished here. And I must just say that I'm very happy to see you all coming from all parts of the world. I'm very amazed that there's so many of you that share this interest in the hobby, because I'm saying for last 20 years that I'm the youngest radio amateur in Croatia, but now I'm happy to say that I'm not anymore when I saw all of you, And I would be really glad if you, even after this, come to me and ask any questions. If it comes later to you, just feel free to ask. And also, I would like to tell you that I borrowed the sound system here, and that we are looking for a DJ, or at least somebody who wants to try to be a DJ. We have a computer. It's going to be a YouTube DJ, but still there's a mic. If somebody wants to sing, to bring a guitar, to have a little concerto for us, you can. I heard somebody playing Nirvana yesterday in the woods. I would really like to know who it was because they sounded really great. I think it sounded a bit German to me when they were not singing, but yeah. Anyways, we will meet outside and we will go to the big system there, and I'll show you again all the things that we discussed here. I'll show you straight away. You can look, you can touch, you can ask, and then we will assemble a little tiny system just on the grass so that you can say that you assemble the system as well. Thank you very much and see you again. Big 73s. Thank you.